Millionaire fires 5 employees until one amazing act of compassion transforms his life forever. Ryan Mitchell sat behind his massive oak desk, the afternoon sun casting long shadows in his office. His manufacturing company, once a beacon of hope in their small Michigan town, was crumbling under economic pressure. After years of chasing success, devoting every waking hour to building his empire, he faced a heart-wrenching decision. The vibrant faces of his 5 loyal employees flashed through his mind, the laughter shared during coffee breaks, the late nights spent working together. And yet the grim reality loomed. Cuts had to be made. When the day came, each termination felt like a stab in his gut. He fired Jamie, a military veteran and single mother, known for her unwavering dedication. He watched the pain in her eyes as she gathered her belongings. "I'll help train someone for my position," she said, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to spill. That moment struck him hard. Who was he becoming? The guilt washed over him like cold water. Before he could fully process it, his phone buzzed with a reminder of the community fundraiser organized for Jamie. Hushed whispers echoed through town. Neighbors were rallying to raise money for her family. Ryan felt a mix of pride and despair. Was this small town really banding together over someone he let go? The urgency of the moment wrapped around him, knotting his gut tighter. "They're standing with her just like they always have," he thought, his head spinning. As he drove to the fundraiser, something in him stirred. Could he still be part of that spirit? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As he entered the bustling community center, Ryan was met with a wave of warmth, a stark contrast to the chill of his office. Jamie stood surrounded by friends and family, accepting their help with grace. She looked radiant despite the hardship, and for the first time in years, Ryan felt a tightness in his chest dissolve into something soft. It hit him like a freight train. The true currency of life wasn't money but connections, faith in one another, and the commitment that forged a community. As he glanced around, seeing neighbors clasping hands, laughing, and sharing stories of togetherness, the weight of his earlier decisions bore down on him. Watching Jamie smile felt like a gut punch. He had traded their camaraderie for profit and lost sight of what truly mattered. The conflict inside him erupted, battling his long-held views of success against the beautifully intertwined lives of his employees and the love coursing through the room. Finally, he glanced at the door, where a familiar figure lingered. His teenage daughter stood watching, disappointment etched deep on her face. It was clear as day. She wanted nothing to do with the man who had neglected her for the sake of ambition. Ryan's heart raced. Could he summon the courage to confront both his daughter and Jamie? Could he mend the bonds he so carelessly severed? As emotions cascaded around him, Ryan took a deep breath, ready to step into the light of this gathering, not just as a businessman but as a father, a member of this community. Would one moment of compassion and accountability be enough to rewrite the narrative of his life, or was it too late? Ryan stepped deeper into the community center, his legs feeling heavier with each uncertain stride. The bustling room, enriched with a mosaic of laughter and chatter, seemed to pulse with life he longed to reconnect with, yet felt utterly detached from. Jamie turned to him, eyes wide with surprise. Their history rolled through his mind like a film reel. The day she first joined the team, the late nights they spent fulfilling orders, the way she always kept him grounded. But now he had cast that all aside. "Ryan," she said, her voice cutting through the noise. There was apprehension in her eyes, but also a hint of hope. "Thank you for coming." "Thank you for everything," he replied, his voice barely escaping his throat. He noticed how the crowd continued pulsating around them, but right now it felt like it was just the two of them suspended in time. Moments like these could either bind or break a person. Ryan felt vulnerable standing before her. How had he let the weight of profit blind him? In that moment of vulnerability, Jamie spoke again. "I promise I'll find my way. You taught me that." She hesitated. "Even in tough times we can uplift one another." Her words struck him. "I wish I had been more like you," he whispered, almost ashamed as he watched her smile gently, reminding him of the person he used to be, the man who cared more about his people than the spreadsheets. Ryan found himself at a crossroads of emotion, drawn to the laughter but feeling the weight of his daughter's gaze still burning into his back. Turning, he searched for her amidst the sea of faces. She was watching him unfold, lips pressed tight, uncertainty lingering in her eyes. He wondered about all the times she had hoped he would return home earlier, share a meal, or even just listen. He knew he needed to make things right. Not just with Jamie but with her too. This was a chance to not only redeem himself, but to show his daughter what it truly meant to care for others. But how? Where to start when he had let them both down? Ryan. A voice broke through his thoughts. It was his business partner Mark, rushing over with urgency. We need to talk about the upcoming shipments. We can't afford any more delays. Ryan felt a surge of frustration at the intrusion. This was not a time for business talk. But before he could voice that, Jamie intervened. You go handle your business, Ryan. I'll be okay. The urgency in Mark's tone darkened Ryan's mood, and he stood at a critical junction. Part of him wanted to retreat into the comfort zone of old habits, processing numbers and focusing on profits. But wouldn't that just push him further away from his heart? Give me a second, Ryan said to Mark, moving closer to Jamie once more. Are you sure? He asked her, searching for reassurance. I will be, she replied. But Ryan, promise me you'll think about where you want to go from here. Not just in business but as a person. All eyes suddenly turned as the fundraiser kicked off. People had gathered to share stories about Jamie and how she had impacted their lives, underscoring the community spirit that had brought them together. Ryan felt overwhelmed yet inspired. What Jamie had said resonated deeply. He was teetering on the precipice of change. But as he stood between Jamie, who represented hope, and Mark, who represented business, he felt the tug and pull of old habits and new possibilities. What decision would bring him back to the man he wanted to be? With renewed determination he turned to Mark. Let us talk later. Right now I need to be here for my employees and my daughter. And as he stepped toward his daughter, he sensed the stares of onlookers and the heavy weight of judgment. Would they see him for the man he was before or the one he had become? Just as he reached her, a sudden realization struck him. Could they forgive him? This journey of reconnection and rebuilding trust wasn't just about his mistakes but included everyone holding their breath, waiting for him to make a move. But would he have the courage to step fully into that light, facing the potential backlash or the chance for redemption that lay ahead? With his heart racing, Ryan took a step closer to his daughter, ready to reclaim both his family and his community. Ryan approached his daughter, each step heavier than the last. The noise around him faded, replaced by the rhythm of his heart pounding in his ears. He could see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, a reflection of his own internal turmoil. Dad, she spoke softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Hey honey, he managed, forcing a smile that didn't quite meet his eyes. He reached out to touch her shoulder, but she flinched slightly, pulling back as if she were afraid. The distance between them felt like a chasm. I've been watching you, she continued, a suffocating mix of emotions spilling out in her words. You're not the same person anymore. You used to care about us, about what we did here. Her statement cut deeper than a knife, surfacing layers of guilt he had buried beneath the pressures of business. I know. I made some bad choices, he admitted, his throat tightening. I got lost in all of it. But I want to change that. You said that before, she replied, her gaze steady, and for the first time in a long while, Ryan felt tears prick the corners of his eyes. But change doesn't happen just because you say it will. A weight of realization hit him hard. He had indeed made promises before, too wrapped up in excuses about work and the demands of running a business. It was time to prove he meant it this time. I won't let you down again, Ryan said, his voice trembling with sincerity. Give me a chance to show you. Trust us, given Dad, it's earned, she responded, and her words planted a seed of determination within him. As the stories about Jamie circulated in the crowd, Ryan saw how people genuinely rallied around her. He listened to tales of her kindness, her resilience, and her unwavering support for everyone. Each account mirrored the beliefs he once held. Community, compassion, and genuine connection. The realization choked him. He had strayed far from those values. Suddenly, Jamie's voice rang out once more, amplified by the heartfelt emotion enveloping the room. It's about being there for one another. We uplift ourselves not just for our own sake, but for the sake of everyone around us. Ryan felt a shift within him. If he wanted to reclaim his family, he needed to embody those very principles. Do you think I could help with something here? He asked his daughter, searching for her gaze again. She blinked back surprised but nodded slowly as if considering the possibility. You really want to? Yes, he replied firmly. I want to volunteer to be a part of this community again. Let me help, really help. Her expression softened just a fraction, and Ryan could see a flicker of hope igniting behind her guarded eyes. The moment was interrupted by a familiar voice. Mark sharply cutting through what felt like an awakening. Ryan, we need answers about those shipments by this afternoon. This is a crucial time for the business, he said impatiently. Ryan felt the rush of pressure mount, but with a newfound clarity, he turned to face Mark, shaking his head. I can't keep doing this. Not this way. We'll discuss shipments later. Mark stood stunned, his mouth agape. Ryan hadn't he spoken like this in years. It was as if a barrier had broken. Are you serious? Mark finally blurted out. Yes, I'm serious. It's time for me to focus on what really matters, Ryan said, looking back at Jamie, searching for reassurance. I need to be here for my daughter and for Jamie. The crowd around them buzzed with energy, each contributor feeling the ripple of Ryan's declaration. He was, at last, ready to stand for something greater than profit margins, people. But as he turned his back on Mark, he felt an anxiety knot in his stomach. Could he truly step away from his old world of numbers and predictions? Would that distance in his relationship with his daughter shrink, or would it grow further if he stumbled on this new path? With resolve flickering in his heart, Ryan asked himself if he had what it took for this transformation to stick. And what challenges awaited him when he took the leap toward reconnecting? As he stood at this pivotal moment, one thing remained. Uncertain. Could he navigate the treacherous waters of redemption and rebuild what he could have lost forever? Ryan stood at the edge of the crowd. The vibrant energy swirling around him felt both comforting and overwhelming. Jamie's voice still echoed in his mind, a reminder of everything he had neglected. There was a part of him that wanted to flee, to avoid the uncomfortable truths looming nearby. But another part, the stronger part that had just recently awoken, urged him to stay. Dad? Jamie's soft voice pulled him back to the moment. Her eyes searched his face for sincerity. Yes, he replied, forcing his heart to steady. Do you really mean it? You want to help out? She asked again, and this time the hope in her tone was undeniable. I do. I want to be here for you, for this community, he asserted. Each word felt like a small act of defiance against the shadows of his past choices. I can help you get started, she said cautiously. We have a food drive coming up. I could use an extra set of hands. It might be a good way to show everyone, her voice faltered, that you're serious. Then let us do it, he responded without hesitating. Ryan noticed the slightest smile spreading across her lips, and for the first time in a long while, he felt warmth blossom in his chest. It was a small step, but it felt monumental. Burdened by both excitement and trepidation, Ryan took a deep breath. Joining Jamie again, truly being a part of her life, was going to challenge everything he once thought defined him. What if he wasn't good enough? What if, despite his efforts, Jamie still didn't trust him? But as they began planning for the food drive, a sense of purpose propelled him forward. He spent the next few days immersed in logistics and gathering supplies, leaning on Jamie's knowledge and enthusiasm. Each late-night session brought them closer, and for the first time in years they laughed together, the laughter ringing in the air, bright and carefree. Ryan found himself more invested, not just in organized boxes but in the people who would benefit from the food drive. Each story he heard rekindled the warmth of humanity he had lost: mothers struggling to feed their children, seniors living alone, and children who merely wanted a meal at night. With each encounter he began to sense a growing connection, not just to Jamie but to the community that thrived on kindness. Then out of the blue he received a call from Mark. Ryan, we need to meet. It's urgent, Mark insisted. The tone of his voice sent a rush of apprehension through Ryan. What's this about? Ryan asked, trying to keep his voice steady. It's about the business. We're facing complications. Mark hesitated. I think we can fix it, but I need your guidance. Ryan felt the pull of his old life tugging at him. There was a familiarity in the chaos of board meetings and financial reports that had once defined his existence. It beckoned with its promise of stability, but threatened to overshadow the progress he had made with Jamie. That familiar anxiety began to creep back in, knotting his stomach once more. "Can we discuss this another time?" Ryan said. "I'm busy right now." The words tumbled from his mouth, and the surprise of standing up to Mark shocked him as much as it might shock the older man. "Ryan, this is important for the future. You can't just walk away now," Mark exclaimed, the urgency in his tone rising. Ryan paused, processing the weight of Mark's words. Could he truly walk away from the corporate world that had consumed him for so long? "Let me think about it," Ryan replied, uncertainty creeping back in. He hung up and was left staring into space, lost in thought. "Dad?" Jamie's voice interrupted his reverie. "What's wrong?" He took a deep breath. "I just might have to make a choice soon. One I didn't expect." "What do you mean?" she pressed, concern etched on her face. Ryan looked at her. "I have to figure out what I want more, this new path or the one I've always known." As he contemplated the crossroads before him, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. With a heart still heavy but hopeful, he turned to look at the door where new experiences awaited him. Would he walk through, together with Jamie and the community he had neglected for so long? And as if the answer hung in the air, one question lingered still: what would that choice ultimately cost him, and was he ready to make the sacrifice? Ryan woke the next morning feeling a mix of determination and uncertainty. The sun poured into the room, bright and demanding. He rolled over and stared at the ceiling, his mind swirling with thoughts about the food drive, Jamie, and the sudden call from Mark. Rising from bed felt like pulling on a heavy coat. The weight of his decisions already settling in. Breakfast was a quiet affair. He flipped pancakes while Jamie nibbled on toast, lost in her phone. The quiet comfort was a stark contrast to the chaos that threatened to rear its head at any moment. He wanted to say something, anything that would keep this peace alive, but words felt heavy in his throat. "Dad, you okay?" She finally broke the silence, her eyes flicking up to catch his gaze. "Yeah, just thinking about all of this." He gestured around the kitchen, the small space filled with ordinary things that now felt significant. "What about it?" Ryan could see Jamie's curiosity mingled with concern. It reminded him of the eagerness she showed in helping him plan every detail of the food drive. "Just trying to figure out what it means to actually be here," he admitted. "To be present." He watched as her brow furrowed in understanding. This was a different kind of conversation, one that felt raw and honest. "We all want you here, Dad. You're doing great." The words were simple yet filled with a weight that hung between them. Ryan smiled, though his heart felt conflicted. "Thanks, Jamie. That means a lot. Really." As they scurried to the community center later that day, the air was thick with anticipation. Volunteers and locals bustled around, setting up tables and stacking boxes. Excitement buzzed softly against the backdrop of laughter and chatter. He shared quick glances with Jamie, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. This was her world, and he was finally stepping inside. But then the nagging thought crept in again: what about Mark? The steady rhythm of the corporate life, the thrill of closing deals, it had all been intoxicating. Did walking away mean giving up a part of himself? He shoved the thought aside. Right now he needed to focus on what mattered right here with his daughter. Throughout the day, Ryan worked beside Jamie, the physical labor grounding him. He felt the weight of each box filled with canned goods, the smiles of gratitude from those who would benefit, and the warmth of community. He noticed how Jamie interacted with others, with kindness reflecting in every word and gesture. She was carving a space for herself, one he had overlooked for too long. "Hey, Dad," Jamie called, interrupting his thoughts. "You should see how happy Mrs. Peterson is. She hasn't been able to come to the food pantry in months." He smiled, imagining the sweet older woman with her bright flowery dresses. "Let us go meet her then." They walked over to where Mrs. Peterson was speaking with another volunteer. Ryan felt a wave of warmth flood through him, seeing joy mix with relief on the old woman's face as they approached. "Mrs. Peterson," Jamie said, her voice bright, "we brought you some treats today." "Oh my dear, you're a treasure," Mrs. Peterson exclaimed, eyes glistening. Ryan's heart soared at Jamie's beaming smile. It felt good seeing the difference they made together. But in that split second, Ryan's phone buzzed in his pocket, vibrating like a warning bell. It was Mark again. He glanced at it, the weight of expectation pulling him back to his old life. What did he really want? Is everything okay? Jamie asked, noticing his hesitation. Yeah, just thinking. He held the phone tight, feeling its pressure against his palm. Come on, Dad. Let us go. Jamie tugged at his arm, pulling him back to the moment where hope planted itself firmly. As they turned back to the crowd, Ryan felt the warmth of connection surround him, lifting the weight of uncertainty, if only for a moment. What if he let go of the past entirely? What if he chose this instead? That thought bloomed in his mind, intoxicating and terrifying all at once. He glanced at Jamie, who was already lost in a conversation with another volunteer, laughter spilling from her lips. That lightness pulled at him, urging him to dive deeper into this new life. Everything okay, Dad? Jamie asked again, weaving her arm through his as they pressed forward. Gripping the phone, he took a deep breath. Maybe this is where I need to be. Maybe it's not about the choice but about the journey we take together. As Mrs. Peterson drew nearer, and laughter filled the air, Ryan felt a clear path open before him. But wasn't there something still lurking in the shadows? What secrets did he still have to confront, both in his past and what awaited him in the uncertain future? And as he faced Jamie, full of hope, one question loomed in his mind: could he truly embrace this new life without fear? Would he be brave enough to leave his old life behind and make the sacrifices it required? Ryan stood at the community center, surrounded by the cheerful hustle and bustle of volunteers and families mingling. It should have felt like a day filled with purpose, but the sensation of his phone buzzing in his pocket was a constant reminder of the other life he had left behind. The pull was strong, as were the insecurities he felt about this new path. Dad! Jamie's light voice broke through his thoughts, bright as ever. Come check this out. She waved enthusiastically from a few feet away, where a group of kids were assembling boxes. A huge smile spread across her face as she hopped into the action as Ryan watched her. Laughter and joy radiated from Jamie, igniting the room around her. It was infectious. He felt that warmth tug at his heart, reminding him that this was why he was here. She was glowing in this moment, and he wanted to share that joy with her. Taking a deep breath, he walked towards her, shaking off the weight of his past. Looks like you're having fun, he said, crouching down to get closer to her level. What's going on? Oh, we're sorting through these donations to make sure everyone gets a yummy meal, she explained, her eyes sparkling. We even found some marshmallows. Can you believe it? Ryan laughed, the joy of that moment washing over him. Only the best for the food drive, right? They continued working side by side, and Ryan began to appreciate the little things: the laughter shared between volunteers, the scent of fresh coffee brewing, and the chatter that filled the air. Felt good, truly good. He looked at Jamie, so engaged and loving every second. But the phone buzzed again, this time more insistent. He hesitated, glancing at it again. Mark's name blinked on the screen. His heart sank slightly. Part of him wanted to answer, to hear what the other life wanted from him, but another part, a stronger part, wanted to keep this moment alive. Hey Dad, you okay? Jamie noticed his distraction, her head tilting slightly as her eyes searched his. Yeah, it's nothing. Just a work thing. He decided to shove the phone deeper into his pocket, feeling somehow lighter for it. Let us finish these boxes. As they worked, a sense of purpose began to spark within Ryan. Every box they filled felt like a small victory, and every smile shared brought him closer to a realization. He was choosing this over the boardroom. He could make a real difference here. Just then, Mrs. Peterson and a few other community members stopped by, the older woman looking particularly touched at all the effort. You two are making my day. I can't thank you enough for this, she said, her voice filled with gratitude. Just doing our part, Ryan replied, feeling a warmth swell in his chest. Jamie beamed, clearly proud, and he reveled in the moment of connection they shared. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, casting a warm glow over the center, Ryan and Jamie took a break on the steps leading to the parking lot. They sat side by side, surrounded by the sound of laughter echoing through the building. This was amazing, Dad, Jamie said. Her face lit up with excitement. He could see the impact this day had on her. Yeah, it really was, he said, trailing off, lost in the moment. But the haunting thought of Mark and his old life lurked, refusing to be entirely ignored. But what if this isn't enough? What if I'm just delaying the inevitable? Before Jamie could respond, a group of kids ran out of the center, their hands full of colorful flyers for the next community event. One of them, a boy with messy hair, stopped in front of them. "Hey mister, are you coming to the movie night next week? You should. It's going to be awesome." Ryan felt a spark of surprise and warmth at being addressed so openly by strangers, let alone invited. "I hadn't thought about it," he started, but immediately Jamie clasped his hand. "Of course we will. Right, Dad?" Her eyes were bright with excitement, demanding his agreement. "Sure, we'll be there," he replied, his heart swelling at the thought of sharing yet another experience with her. As the boy raced off, Ryan felt a flicker of something more powerful within him, hope, perhaps? Or maybe it was something deeper still, a yearning to lay down roots here in this community. As they made their way back inside, he didn't check his phone. Maybe he didn't need to anymore. Maybe stepping into a new life didn't need to feel like abandoning the old one. But as they rounded the corner, Ryan's phone buzzed again, more urgent this time, and he couldn't ignore it. He pulled it out and his heart sank. What awaited him now? Would this be another decision that put him on the brink? Or could it be the answer he didn't know he was searching for? He hesitated, knowing one call could change everything. "Dad?" Jamie's voice sounded concern embedded within her playful tone. "You coming?" He looked down at the screen and then back at her, grappling with an unseen choice that waited just beyond his reach. Would he answer it? Or would he continue to create this new story, full of warmth, laughter, and possibility? Ryan stood frozen for a moment, the world around him blurring into an indistinct backdrop. The phone vibrating in his hand felt heavier than usual. He glanced between the screen and Jamie's hopeful face, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. This was a normal day for her, a simple moment of joy, yet here he was, grappling with the weight of a decision that felt monumental. His pulse quickened. What if Mark wanted something important? What if it was an emergency? But in the back of his mind, another voice whispered that maybe it wasn't an emergency at all. Maybe it was just another attempt to pull him back to a life he was beginning to envision without. "Dad?" Jamie's voice broke through his thoughts again, sounding more urgent now. "Are you all right?" He nodded quickly, heart pounding. "Yeah, just thinking." A part of him wanted to explain it all, to share what this call meant to him and the struggle it provoked. But he didn't want Jamie to worry. She had been through enough with the changes in their lives. He took a deep breath, clutching the phone tightly. "You know what, Jamie? This right here is what matters." He gestured around at the laughter trickling from the community center, the buzzing bees of excitement. "All of this is real, not like whatever that call might lead to." Jamie's expression shifted into an ever-brightening smile. "You're right. So why don't we go back in and surprise them with those marshmallows?" Ryan felt a rush of warmth at her suggestion. "That sounds like a great idea." He slid the phone back into his pocket, taking one last glance at the screen. Mark's name still flashed insistently, but for now it was silenced. Hand in hand, they strode back into the community center. Inside, the atmosphere pulsed with energy. The noise was infectious and vibrant, a blend of laughter mingling with the sense of hearty food being prepared for those in need. Ryan felt a flicker ignite in his chest. This was where he belonged. As they reached the main area, Jamie jumped up onto a table, drawing attention. "Hey everyone! We brought some extra treats." She beamed, holding the pack of marshmallows high. The kids cheered and Ryan couldn't help but laugh at her exuberance. "Let us add some sweetness to the evening, huh?" He chimed in, the unease from moments ago vanishing. Soon enough they were surrounded by eager hands, sticky fingers reaching for the marshmallows while giggles erupted like a chorus. For the first time in a long while, Ryan felt a sense of purpose wash over him, a connection to something bigger than himself. He might be building a new life here, but this community already felt like family. As the evening progressed, he shared smiles and exchanged stories with other parents and volunteers. One particular woman, Claire, shared a heartbreaking story of how the community had rallied around her during tougher times. And Ryan realized just how much he could learn from all of them. That moment, he felt a tug at his sleeve. Ryan turned to find a small girl with wide, hopeful eyes staring up at him. "Mister, will you help me with my project?" "Of course." Ryan replied, surprised but happy. Please. I'm trying to make a poster for movie night. Her enthusiasm was contagious. As they collated supplies, everyone around them began to pitch in, turning it into a fun group activity. There was laughter, collaboration, and a sense of unity that filled the air, something Ryan had been missing for too long. Just as they finished decorating the poster, Ryan's phone buzzed again, pulling him from the moment. This time, though, the buzzing felt different, tinged with a sense of urgency. He pulled it out reluctantly, his heart still tethered to the laughter and warmth surrounding him. It was a text from Mark. We need you back in the office. It's urgent. Can't do this without you. Ryan felt the weight of that message sinking him. Was it true? Did he really want to go back to that cold, sterile world? He turned his gaze to Jamie, lost in the moment, surrounded by new friends, feeling unfathomable joy. And then to the bustling community. Life he now craved. He clenched his phone tightly, unsure what choice would lead him forward. Dad? Jamie's voice brought him back again. A soft yet curious inquiry. What are you thinking? For now he needed to choose. But what kind of future would he be walking toward? Would he answer Mark, stepping back into an old life? Or stay in the unexpected warmth of all this? What if, he pondered silently, maybe I could find a way to have both? The possibilities danced in his mind, leaving him at a crossroads as the laughter mirrored around him, waiting for his next move. What would he choose? Ryan stared down at his phone, the glow of the screen illuminating the worry lines etched on his forehead. His heart raced as he debated his next move. The laughter of children echoed around him, a balmy backdrop to the storm swirling inside. He felt torn. A split between the life he was beginning to embrace here and the one calling him back with a sense of urgency he couldn't shake. Dad, Jamie persisted, her voice breaking through his internal noise. Please, what's going on? With a deep breath, Ryan forced a smile. Just trying to decide whether we should help with the project or if I should go make a phone call. He gestured toward the kids who were now enthusiastically working on the poster, their laughter like a balm to his conflicted heart. Stay here, Jamie exclaimed, her hands gripping his arm tightly. I want you to help me. I want us to be a team. Those words hit him like a soft punch. He looked into her eyes, those sparkling pools filled with hope. You're right, he said finally, feeling the resolve settle in. Let us finish this poster first. Then we'll see about the call. Yay! Jamie cheered, racing back to the table. The little girl from earlier smiled widely at him, holding up a stack of colored markers. As Ryan settled down beside them, he felt a flicker of joy igniting his heart once more. It could be that simple, just being present. The group worked in harmony, ideas bouncing around like popcorn kernels in a hot pan. He found himself chuckling as they created a giant movie night poster adorned with stars drawn by enthusiastic hands. Ryan had almost forgotten how satisfying it could be to collaborate like this, to share in the laughter and excitement of others. As they placed finishing touches, a sparkly border and a lavish movie night. Written in bright red, he couldn't help but feel a surge of warmth for this new life he was crafting alongside Jamie. Perhaps it was enough. Perhaps the joy here could eclipse the monotony of his previous existence. All right, it's all done, Jamie announced, her voice a beacon of delight. The children erupted in cheers while Ryan watched, caught in the golden moment. But just as he was settling into the joy of the evening, his phone buzzed again, forcefully, persistent and demanding. It pulled him back into the reality that had felt so distant. He pulled it out cautiously, bracing himself for Mark's name flashing against the bright screen. Ryan! Jamie's voice broke into his thoughts again, urgency bleeding in her tone. Are you going to look at it? What did he say? Torn between two worlds, Ryan hesitated. Would answering the call mean abandoning these bubbling connections he had begun to forge? What would he be leaving behind? Maybe he started, pushing his phone back into his pocket. Just maybe there's room for both. The room seemed to lift around him, alive with the energetic laughter of children. But could he really juggle two lives? Just then Claire approached him, her eyes full of warmth. You did a fantastic job with the kids, she said, her voice gentle. I can see how much they appreciate you. Ryan met her gaze, feeling the sincerity in her words. It's a team effort, he replied, his heart swelling with pride. But Ryan, she continued, looking a bit more serious. You seem torn. This place could really use someone with your skills. His heart sank at the weight of her implication. He could be useful here, but could he also answer Mark and maintain the life he once had? Think about it, she added softly, leaning in. What do you really want? As his gaze flicked over to Jamie, glowing with happiness, Ryan felt clarity wash over him. What did he really want? He knew this night was special, dawning in shades of potential, but the question loomed. Could he take the risk to build this new life, leaving behind the familiar comforts? The laughter danced around him, but the phone buzzed again. A sharp reminder of the life that called to him. Ryan stood at the threshold of a choice that could change everything. Would he answer the call and step back into old shoes? Or leap forward into the unknown? With Jamie happily engaged in her project, he gripped the decision tightly, still searching for the answer that could guide him. In that moment, as the shadows grew longer with the fading light, uncertainty loomed large. What lay ahead could either be a disaster or a life-altering decision. And as the excitement swelled, he realized he might just be on the brink of discovering what mattered the most. What would he choose? What if, in that moment of clarity, he found a path he never expected? Ryan took a deep breath, grounding himself amidst the laughter that swirled around him. Jamie's joyful face was a beacon, a reminder of what this new life promised. He glanced at the phone again. Mark's name glared up at him, but he didn't move to check it. Instead, he turned back to the chaos of creativity before him. The kids were still chattering, piling colored markers into a haphazard rainbow that chased one another across the big poster. Can we add a dog to the movie poster? A little boy asked, his face smudged with marker ink. Of course. We need a superhero dog, Jamie exclaimed, as if that were the best idea ever. Ryan chuckled along with the other children, reveling in the lightness of the moment. He grabbed a purple marker and began to sketch a goofy-looking dog with a cape. As laughter erupted around the table, it outweighed the buzzing weight of his phone in his pocket. Look, it's Barky McFly, he declared, gesturing exaggeratively to the drawing. Enthusiastic cries of Barky filled the room. The small victories of laughter were so much richer than the sterile tones of the calls he used to take. Yet, beneath the surface, a current stirred. There was still that nagging urgency in him, the tugging roots from his old life reaching out. He could almost hear the echoes of Mark's demands. What if he turned away now and they really needed him? What if he waited too long and that old life slipped away entirely, like sand through his fingers? Claire's voice punctured his thoughts softly. She stood nearby, arms folded, a supportive presence amidst the clamor. You've got that look again. It's like you're somewhere else. Are you all right? He offered a quick smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. Just thinking, I guess. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You've made quite an impact here today. This is the kind of thing that matters. It's not just a poster, it's a memory you're helping them create. Don't forget that. Those words hit home. Memories. How many had he been a part of in the past? How many had he let slip away while focused on work? Ryan took a moment, letting her words sink in. What if this was where he belonged? What if every smile from Jamie, every laugh from the kids, was building a new narrative, a life filled with meaning? In that instant, he realized he was finally a part of something that felt important. Before he could dwell on doubt, Jamie's voice rang out again, snapping him back. Dad, come help. Barky needs a cape. Superstars can't be without a cape. He shook off his lingering uncertainty, caught in Jamie's whirlwind of enthusiasm. Let us put one on him. They huddled together at the table, their arms brushing against one another, with Jamie gleefully adding sparkles to Barky's imaginary cape. In that moment, watching her design with wild creativity and excitement, Ryan felt a warmth spreading in his chest. It was a healing glow that made the shadows of his old life seem more and more distant. But then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed Claire watching. Her expression was earnest, her brow slightly furrowed. It was a look that spoke of concern. Why was she so fixated on him? What if there was more at play here than he understood? A feeling of unease set in as the phone buzzed again, this time vibrating forcefully against his hip. He knew it was Mark. In that instant, as kids cheered around him, Ryan felt a jolt of reality slicing through the warmth. Two paths lay ahead, one calling him back to the old struggles, and the other destined for the unknown. With Jamie smiling brightly at him, he chose to hold on to the joy he was creating in this moment. But just as he reached for a new marker, Claire's words echoed. What do you really want? The question lingered in his mind like a haunting melody. He could either play it safe or take a chance. With a racing heart, he realized the true decision was not just about his job or commitments, it was about who he wanted to be moving forward. As laughter erupted for the rosy-lipped version of Barky McFly, he glanced back at the phone. Would he finally answer it? What would he discover if he did? The tension built around him, and he felt the room pulse with the weight of his choice. Ryan stood at the community center, the vibrant energy surrounding him buzzing and pulsing like a heartbeat. The laughter of children filled the warm air, mixing with the sweet aroma of freshly baked goods. As Jamie's eyes lit up with enthusiasm while creating their goofy superhero dog, he felt the weight of the past slowly lifting from his shoulders. But the familiar vibration against his hip reminded him of the life. He almost fell back into a life of spreadsheets and profit margins. It was like a siren call, drawing him back into a world that no longer felt like home. Dad? Jamie's voice cut through the sweet chaos, pulling him back to her. Come check out Barky's new cape. He looked and saw her flailing her arms dramatically as she added sparkle to the golden cape. Suddenly life here felt electric, joyous and alive. Alright, superstars can't fly without a cape. He chuckled, fully present as he added vibrant colors to their creation. The laughter pouring from Jamie and the kids sparkled in the air like the colorful markers they spilled everywhere. Ryan realized he hadn't just stepped into a simple evening activity. He had jumped headfirst into a new life, one filled with warmth, laughter, and connection. But the hum of his phone buzzed insistent and heavy once again, demanding his attention. For a fleeting moment, uncertainty crawled back into his mind. What if Mark needed him? What if he missed something important? But then, looking at Jamie alive with excitement, creativity flowing like water from her fingertips, he thought, what if all that truly mattered was right here? Can you help us finish this part, Dad? Jamie asked, her voice bright and hopeful. Yes, he breathed out, placing the phone deeper into his pocket, where it could no longer distract him. Let us make Barky the best superhero he can be. The children cheered, and even Claire smiled brightly, thawing the last doubts that clung to the edges of his heart. Amid the kaleidoscope of colors and laughter, Ryan felt something he hadn't in a long time, a true sense of belonging. As they wrapped up the poster, ready to unveil their creative endeavor, something shifted within Ryan. He no longer felt tethered to that other life. Instead, he found himself filled with hope and desire to be a part of this community. It was about connection, about supporting one another, a stark contrast to the isolated world of corporate pressures. Still buzzing with anticipation, they gathered around the table, eyes wide, hearts open. The children recited lines in unison. 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Ryan caught Jamie's gaze, her eyes sparkling with hope, and felt joy ignite in his chest. What a masterpiece! He exclaimed, the feelings of accomplishment rippling through the other kids. There was no need for competition here, only community. Suddenly, amid the laughter and applause, Ryan felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Claire. You really belong here, don't you? She said softly. You've made such an impact in just a short time. He looked around at the smiling faces, joy dancing in the air. I think I finally found where I want to be, he responded, sincerity pouring from his heart. Before she could reply, the soft sound of Jamie's laughter bubbled up, contagious and pure. All his strained relationships with business and stress melted away beneath the shining light of the life he was building with his daughter. Ryan knew this was it. This was the moment of transformation he had longed for, where community mattered more than quarterly reports. He felt the phone buzz one final time, a reminder of that life that wanted to pull him back, but now it felt irrelevant. With a glimmer of determination, he reached for Jamie's hand. How about we grab some popcorn for movie night? Yes, she cheered, spinning in place. That's a great idea. As they moved through the laughter and chatter, Ryan felt liberated. He had made a choice not just between two lives, but for a life full of purpose, of joy and connection. Would he still face challenges? Of course. But he would do it with community, with family, and a heart renewed with purpose. And as they celebrated with the people around them, he finally felt the confines of his former self fading away entirely. Ryan was home. The journey ahead would be different, yet he welcomed each moment, every single step. He wanted this life, this beautiful, messy, perfect life, where compassion transformed not just one person, but an entire community. Reflecting on the journey of rediscovery, Ryan realized the truth. Sometimes it takes losing everything to truly find yourself. And that was just the beginning. So now here comes the moment you have all been waiting for. You need to subscribe now to the channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow this amazing community. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. You know your support makes all the difference. And remember, together we can keep telling these incredible stories.